Okay, I'd like to bring the county government meeting on order tonight. The first thing up, I'd like to welcome Jim Vaslow for Weights and Measures. Jim, would you like to say anything to the committee or anything? But you're taking over somebody's position that we knew very well. She did good at it. I think you'll do the same.
Thank you. I knew Sue practically all of my life. It's a big position to fill. I feel honored and humbled that I was offered the position. And trust me when I say there's more to Weights and Measures than the produce scales in the supermarket or the gas pumps. I learned on my second day that there are great big hoppers that weigh thousands of pounds of grain and fertilizers and other items like that. And so far in my glorious 13 days, lucky 13 days of employment, I measured anything ranging from 8 ounces up to 49,000 pounds. So there's a lot to learn, but I feel confident that I'm up for the task. So thank you for having me.
Thanks, Jim. Welcome aboard.
You should get up there and check Kippy's scale.
Hey, I sold it. I'm out of it. Come on up. I'm done. Okay, let's start with MIS, Chris.
Afternoon, everybody. I was going to bring this up to get the policy approved, but Supervisor Shamiz had some edits, and if there's anything you guys wanted to go over to update this policy, they had a few things to add. One of them being defined which staff or body appoints this individual. My assumption would have been board of supervisors, but I guess it would have been up to chairman or whoever else to make that decision. Other one will look like just formatting, I guess. I didn't know if we had.
Yeah, I mean, I guess first I'll just say thanks for putting the policy together and then you worked with the attorney at all. So I think it's a great start. The main pieces that I added was definitions for face recognition license plate readers. And I think sort of reiterating, I think my previous understanding is that they would be off by default and we'd have a process for when we turn them on and tracking them. The other piece that I added was an explicit prohibiting or defending First Amendment rights and like prohibiting tracking for First Amendment principles, which has been an instance around the country where governments have used surveillance equipment to track people's First Amendment issues, which I assume that we don't want to do. So I think those were the main things. Like I had a small change around, we said around owning cameras, which I think our intention is that we're owning cameras, but if there was ever an instance where we were leasing a camera or some other, like it makes sense to the policy would just apply to things besides just owning it.
So I leave it to you guys. I'm not a policy guy.
Yeah.
So I'll try here.
So I think those were like the broad strokes of like what I was as like, to me, it was like just trying to put in place the things that we had said. I think the other key pieces was around, we're using this, is it Verkada, is that how it's pronounced?
Yeah.
Is that like to add a sentence saying that they, however they support our system, they have to comply with our policy.
Sure.
And that we don't, and trying to have some protections around sharing our footage with other people. I know that like, we had this with the body camera footage of like, do we want to give our footage to somebody else for their own third-party use?
Sure.
Which I assume we don't want to do, except for cases of FOIL or responding to an incident or law enforcement or something along those lines.
Sure.
And if there would be an instance that the board of supervisors would want to approve some sort of like broad sharing of the footage. So those were sort of my general edits. I mean, I'd love if the committee agrees, I'd love to sort of have the attorney give that another look, but that was my intention of those edits.
Which is fine by me. I can resubmit it to the county attorney and then we'll revisit it next month.
Do you want to table this for now?
Let's table it. I guess I can talk to you directly and we'll kind of just get the fine tuning and then we'll go through the county attorney then. Work for me?
Anybody from the board? I have a question.
I'd just like to say I appreciate both your efforts in getting us to this point. This policy was key in terms of our comfort level with the cameras. And I also appreciate the reporting piece, the fact that we have an annual reporting piece associated with this.
Okay,
Do you need a motion to, table?
I'll move that.
second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you.
See you next month.
Thanks.
All right.
Okay, next up we'll do Board of Elections. I think Kelly's not here, but I think Mara's here, right?
Kelly couldn't be here and she and Jim prepared the material, which I agree with,
Okay,
and I think it should just be pretty straightforward.
So you're just looking to roll over
Yeah.
unused grant funds?
I'll move it.
Second?
all in favor? Opposed? Carried.
Great.
Easy enough.
That's it? Boy,
Go back to calling. Holdings.
Thanks for joining us.
Planning, Teresa.
Buddy. I have two resolutions, right? The first one is authorization to execute the New York State Data Center affiliate agreement with the County Planning Department and the Department of Labor. This is a renewal of a contract. We've been participating in the affiliate program for over 20 years, and this is a renewal for a 5-year contract to continue the coordination with the Census Bureau, the Labor Department.
A second.
All in favor? Opposed? Carried.
And thank you for the numbers that came through this week.
Oh, sure, you're welcome. Okay, the next one, is a resolution from the Climate Smart Communities Task Force. It's a request to, consider applying for a grant for, climate action plan. And just to give you a little background, the climate action plan, would work in concert with a couple other plans that the task force has been working on, the Climate Adaptation and Resiliency Plan, or the CARP, which is the draft I sent around earlier this week. Also, the greenhouse gas inventory that Don's been working on, and also the Capital Region Community Action Plan that Capital District Regional Planning Commission's been working on. So the purpose of the CAP is to develop a strategy for the reduction in greenhouse gas emissions for the county and communities. And it would include an emissions inventory for all the county buildings and also establish a framework for the county policy and set forth methods to achieve the reduction goals. And it may incorporate information about land cover and agriculture and forestry practices as well. They'd be looking to apply for a grant through the CFA. The grant hasn't been announced yet. Anticipate it'll be similar to the last round. There would be, excuse me, a percentage match as well. And
How much?
don't know yet because the grant hasn't been announced yet.
It's usually 50-50. But half of the 50% part of that can be in kind or so staff services.
So there's been a subcommittee that's been working on gathering information about other county plans, other municipal plans, and also the process for RFPs and what that would entail and potential consultants. There still is some of the things that they're working on, but this is an authorization really for them to proceed and in anticipation of applying for this grant.
Is this, it seems to me it's premature. In terms of, we don't even know, the grant hasn't been announced yet or made available.
That's not.
But the reason I think to start the conversation now is because the grant will be due in July. So if we wanted to get an application before this committee in next month and then before the board in May, that would give us time to review and or make changes to any grant application that might move forward. And I think my understanding is that it's a fairly lengthy application. So we would need to begin some of the framing or, basic work associated with gathering data and material now.
Okay, our approval or disapproval doesn't mean that somebody couldn't be working on this if they had to.
I think it's a request to make sure that those resources could be allocated at this point and that we could get that we're committed to this process and that we could get the resources allocated. And I don't know if I invited Tara Donadio to come with, the chairman's approval today. If there are any questions about what a cap plan is, because I think it is a new plan. We're, fairly well, we pretty much understand what the other plans that Patrice referenced are, but this is new to us. If we have any questions about the plan, she's here to answer those questions, or she could even give us a short presentation of what the cap plan would be.
Well, I've got a question. So what are we looking at the county that would be held accountable for putting in for? It's a matching grant? Or do they know? What, 50%?
50%.
So what's the total?
Well, it's anticipated when the grant was
Right.
announced, but that's what in the previous round, that was the match.
I think,
You can answer the question.
Well, our investigation, we estimate that hiring a consultant with a lot of public input, element in that would be $90,000. So we would ask for a $60,000 grant from the state. We'd have to match that 50-50. So we'd have to come up with another $60,000 worth of either money or in-kind services. And right now we have it estimated 50-50. So 30,000 cash from the county, 30,000 worth of effort from staff or volunteer work from the county. That's just a starting point. I mean, we still have to work through a work plan of, how many hours staff will be able to put into it, how many hours volunteers will be able to put into it. Sorry.
I mean, I'm not comfortable at this point in time supporting that, not knowing. First of all, when the grant's gonna be available. Secondly, what it's actually gonna cost us. And thirdly, do we even have the money in the budget?
the request for the money would be for the 2025 budget. That's another reason to get started so that we could plan accordingly. And I don't think there is a structure associated with the match. The match could be
Yeah,
50-50.
it can be cash or it can be in-kind
60-40, it could be-
services. Yeah.
So, but I think the task force subcommittee that has reported back has looked at a number of other counties to see what the range of consultant costs would be. And so this is our best guess at this point. But I think what we need is the commitment to better understand and frame this and to bring a more concrete proposal to the committee.
The idea is that if we move forward, say we get this grant, we do the plan not only helps inform, but it then opens up further grant opportunities.
Yes, I think that's safe to say.
Yeah, that's definitely a big piece of it, is that once you have the planning in place, you're more able to secure future state funding that is likely going to be available for anything from adaptation to mitigation for climate change.
And I think that one of the hardships that we've not struggled with, but one of the conditions that we've had to adjust to is that these grants are coming out with shorter and shorter windows to apply. So that if we start to frame this larger plan and start to look at, different actions, then we'll be better placed further along in order to apply for those grants.
Is that
a fair
ending in
statement?
the budget? Is that the state budget? Is that what we're waiting for?
No, the
Oh.
2025 budget would be the time when we anticipate that we would have to make the match.
No.
But I'm saying,
When is this
you're
money
waiting-
gonna
when
be
is-
available?
When is the grant
This
gonna
is
be
an annual
announced?
grant, Patrice. When does it normally come out?
So the CFA is announced yearly. It's basically the consolidation of all New York State grants. The CSE grant has been available for the last 8 years or so. So it's very highly anticipated. Actually, we've pretty much heard from the DC, this will be opportunity available. They're released in early May and they're due in the end of July every year, and then announced usually like late fall, early winter for a contract in the following year. So that's typically the timeline we've seen.
So if it's just a matter of like, we need more details, could we say now, I don't even know if we need a resolution for this, but to say now, we authorize the planning department and the committee to like start working on a potential grant application. And then a month from now, we would have more, like, we could start the work.
Even if we get the grant, we don't accept it.
That's true too, right? Is that,
I think that's, I think that's what I said is if they want to work on it and gather information, have at it. But, I'd like to have more information and I'd like to have more, detail in terms of what it's about.
I've got two questions, quick questions before I recognize Ron here, but, first question is, has the state done this study already? Has the state already done a study like this?
Done their own climate action
Yeah.
plan? Yes, they're actually in the process of one right now. They have their own, but they're also getting funded by the EPA to do one as well. But a lot of local governments have done one as well. So,
Well, that's my other question.
Yeah.
Any counties around or any,
and
Count-
counties.
or town, I mean,
Yeah.
you know,
So Ulster County has done one. Orange County is in the process of doing one. Albany County has done one. And then actually a lot of towns right in this county have started to pursue government operations inventories. I don't know that any have done community operations or community inventories, I guess you could call them. This would be, I think, a combination of the two of them. So focusing on government policy as well, or government actions as well as potential community actions.
Can we get copies of those counties' plans?
The county plans, absolutely, yes.
I think Don already asked.
Yes, yeah.
That's what we started to use to put together this outline.
I think what we're all, well, I'm sorry, Ron, you want a question?
So yeah, a couple things. I apologize for being late, but, you know, let alone the chasing the funding of this is a big reach. We've got Don very busy, chasing some other grants that we've been very successful at, and I appreciate all of his work there. But trying to chase another one in this year may be a bit of an overreach. But even if we were to go for the grant, I have questions on doing the plan in itself. To me, and I'm happy to hear Tara address this, but to me, the state has already adopted a climate action plan that probably has unrealistic goals. I'm not, you know, staking out a turn, but everybody realizes that there's some huge hurdles and challenges to that. I think we're going to be years trying to figure out how to implement some of those state actions. Why would the county start doing its own plan? That we have to comply with the state plan anyway. I mean, so why would we do that? I certainly, in reading a little bit more about this after Brenda and I spoke, and again, I hadn't been to some of the climate task force meetings, but this is talking about not only just doing government operations, which, you know, I understand that governments need to do government operations study, but then to try and do community aspects of this, I'm not comfortable with that at all. I can tell you that. I have a personal feeling, you know, but I think that's government overreach to try and regulate what the state is already doing that. I don't know that we should be looking at what businesses and farm operations do in Columbia County and trying to come up with a plan to govern them. That concerns me, you know. So I'm not comfortable with the community part of this idea, certainly. And I think we've got a lot going on this year that I think we should work through what we've already committed to and think about this for next year. Michael.
Is there like something in between that there's like a place in between telling the community what to do and not having an opinion at all, right? Is that agriculture does produce a lot of the greenhouse gases in the country. And a lot of farmers are interested in being like, what are the small things that I can do to reduce, to like change our tilling practices or those kinds of things?
You don't think that they're aware of those things already?
Well, then what's the harm around putting that into like a plan to be like, hey, here's how our community, our Columbia County community is working together to reduce emissions. And there's it doesn't have to be a regulation. It can say, well, we know that one of the ways that we can reduce our climate impact in the county is for businesses to do these kinds of things. And some
Well,
of
we
them
could
are,
interview
some of them
the
are opt-in.
agricultural community and find out what they're already doing and write it in our own plan for a lot less than $120,000.
Well, the out-of-pocket cost to us is not going to be $120,000.
Uh,
But I
It's
would
still a
argue,
project.
but just to your first point, I think one of the things that we asked on did he have the capacity to take this on? And the
Yeah.
department thinks they do have the capacity to take it on. So that's the first thing. And that's why we're planning early to make sure that that capacity is used wisely and not at the expense of other projects. But I also think that we've had some experience now with the Climate Smart Task Force and the Housing Task Force. These are examples of where we've identified state programs through these efforts and that are suited for our towns and communities, so that we don't have to take the whole bundle or the whole box. We tailor it to what our needs, our community needs are, and what we think the community appetite is for understanding and responding to these issues. And the other thing I would say is that I think that this has provided, at least to my community and a number of other communities, a very good example of a path forward. So the Climate Smart Task Force and the Housing Task Force, these are ways that we've been able to take small bites at big problems that seem almost insurmountable. But with the help of these task force, we've been able to cut them down to size so that communities have the tools then to make choices in their communities. But the most important thing I would say to address your remarks is that this is non-binding, so that we can come up with a list of suggestions, but we're not binding any community or any landowner to any specific action. There's nothing mandatory about this. It might be educational, and it might be a useful tool, but it's not mandatory.
The one thing-
Yeah, and I just wanted to make a point, I apologize, that that's 100% correct. And Supervisor Knott, you're right as well, that the government operations piece is much easier because you have that under your control, whereas the community is a bit more challenging to pin down and suggestions for, the community at large, especially when it comes to transportation and things like that. But there is some great language that two communities locally have put in their action plan that I think was really helpful. They basically established that this is an aspirational document prepared by the committee, which identifies priority actions. So really including language to really make sure that that's very clear that this is just kind of a menu of items that it could be chosen when grants are available, but not regulatory. One town actually has already amended their cap just because they reached some goals and felt like maybe they could go further, but you also don't have to set the state's goals. You can set more realistic goals that make sense for the county. And I think that's really important to know. So.
Well, I am happy to review. I know Don did provide us, some of the other plans, and I will look at those and, take a further dive at this, but I've only had this for a week or so to chew on it, so.
Well,
I certainly need more time.
I think that's your biggest question. We've had just a very little time, and you made some good points that there's information you can gather for us to give us more overview of the whole project so we understand what's going on instead of walking in, at this point, make that decision. I think you wait a month, gather more information that can answer the questions that's been brought up by the board tonight before we make a decision. We have the time, right? It's not that we have to make a decision tonight, otherwise we're not going to get the grant. No, we have the time to do it. But
No, it's not.
right.
It is, I think what we're really asking for is the approval, or please correct me if I'm wrong. What we're really asking for is the approval to allocate resources to do this exploration and to come back to the board with more information. And I think the approval would also include identifying what steps we need to take in order to write the grant and what are the components of the grant and how we would fill that component piece. So we really just need a commitment to, yes, move ahead, to allocate staff time to move ahead with this application.
Yeah, I think you said that, right? Chairman, I think you said, we gather the information and give us a month and come back and then we sit there and go over it again. I think it'd be.
I just want to, before we move on, the one thing that is binding is the money.
That's true. That's true. But we'll know, I don't know if we'll know by the April committee meeting. The grant may or may not be out by then, right?
Yeah, it's probably May. I don't think I've ever seen it as early as April.
And then that's very difficult because if we want to get it to committee before we get it to the full board, and I think we'd want to get the full grant application to the committee. I think the committee would want to have the opportunity to review the application and see what the commitment is. And then we'll have a better idea of what our match might be for the grant funding. But that's the reason why we need to start early, because we won't have enough time if we wait for the grant to come out.
And Tara, you spoke about this going on for the last few years. Do you expect us to continue going on the opportunity?
I do.
I know it's hard for you.
No, that's a really good question. I do think that there'll be these grants available in the future. So this is probably not the last year.
I just have a question. Does this mean if we say yes to this, there's no commitment to funds right now? We're just saying yes, go ahead and do it.
Well, this is asking for a commitment of funds.
It's just asking
That's what-
for a commitment to fund.
Yeah, so how much is it?
It's asking for $30,000.
So
Next
It's in the
year's budget.
2025
Chairman
budget.
is saying we don't have 30,000.
It's in the 2025 budget. We haven't done a 2025 budget yet.
That's what's going to be.
Sales tax is going down.
But we're about to bring in
Put it in the budget.
$1 million this year, right?
So that's what, nobody answered my question.
The-
The
I'm
last
sorry,
part.
I'm sorry, what,
So this would go into the 25 budget.
25 budget? Based on what they're telling me. So,
Based
I
on
would
We really
what
want
we
to figure on
Based on what we
60
know.
in the budget, you
But
know.
we need $30,000 between this month and next month. to
No,
start
know.
getting
No, we need
information.
between January.
I know this is, that's what I was asking before, that we
Nothing.
want another month that we could look at it and bring more information in to make
Yeah.
good decisions on.
If I could, I'd like to make a motion that we table it until we get more information.
I think it's a good idea. That's my opinion. I think, I'd like to see more information. And I'd like to see more about the state, what they have done. We could take a print out of what they've done already to see, you know.
Yeah, our town's doing it too.
Yeah.
There's a little redundancy there, but.
Well, many towns, I can't say, I don't have a list of towns, but many towns have already done a greenhouse gas inventory, which is, you know, a part of this, but I think there are other pieces that will, you know, that it'll help us find other pieces that are useful to us, both in terms of funding opportunities, but also in terms of reducing reducing carbon emissions in our communities.
Do I do have a motion on the floor? Do I have a
Second, Jim.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carry.
Before we wrap this up, could I ask Donnie one question, or maybe Tara? We spoke about, you know, the government piece and community piece of that. Is that a requirement to apply for this grant, that it has a community aspect to it?
There are two
Yeah,
separate.
So that was just a choice that our committee made, or
Yeah.
asked for.
Correct.
Doing those at the same time.
Realizing there is a lot of overlap, so it's kind of a,
Yeah.
you know, how many years ago situation.
So if we were to apply, we could focus it on just government.
Chairman, you don't mind saying something?
You're correct.
I would support the pursuit of this grant if we can find the money in 2025. No pun intended, I think maybe we should have the agricultural and community concerns, but just to develop this plan from a local government perspective. Having that plan in our pocket does make us eligible, you know, to these clean energy funding opportunities, which seem to be the bulk of the thrust in the Dow. I would support this one.
And as far as we know, the clean energy money is sunset from 2025. So that's a reason not to wait a year. I mean, we have a pretty good idea that it's gonna sunset in 2025.
I mean, that's pretty sure,
Yeah, okay.
Anything else?
Thank you for a robust discussion.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And these services.
Next up is human resources.
Michael, I mean, absolutely. What you say is always.
I was gonna go sitting here, but okay, fine. I got you.
Right there, the guy walking up.
We had some, gets contact the office already.
They got all
Excited. Really? Cool. So our office is actually contacted already about this, whether we're going to do it or not, so. Was this the first one?
It's the one you get.
Summer youth.
Oh, okay. So we would like to offer the 2024 Summer Youth Employment Program this year. The only revision that was in there was that it was up to $17.25 an hour, which still maintains, certainly within our union contract standards. And
I'll
this,
move it.
thank you.
Second. All in favor?
I,
Opposed? Carry.
No, my God, that wasn't the first one.
No, that's okay. I just, whatever you guys want. That sounds like-
There's the best.
No, that's okay. All right. So we usually, certainly before the end of the fiscal year for last year, before audit, we need to transfer the money from my budget into the point one budgets for the people who spent down summer youth budgets for last year. So this is the transfer of those monies to that.
To what we just approved.
23.
I'll move it. Second.
All in favor? Opposed? Carry.
Just like there's a flip there.
What does that exactly mean, up to 17.25 an hour? How does that someone know?
It was 17 last year. It's 17.25. this
She's
year.
raising it up
It's
to.
an
Okay.
increase.
Not that they're gonna make up to.
They all get the same price, right?
I don't like you, you're 60.
Right, yeah.
That's state.
All right, so this is certainly anyone familiar with the Americans with Disabilities Act. We do have county policy in reference to that, and inadvertently, I apologize, we never added, there is a piece to that about service animals. And we do actually have a county employee
who has an accommodation and she has a service animal. So we would like to ensure that there be policy, a very in-depth policy.
I just
She
wondered
was
if this
here
the young woman
yesterday.
we saw yesterday.
Oh,
She came and presented for you.
I'm assuming so. I'm assuming so, yeah. Yeah, so, you know, it's definitely, it's in compliance with the federal law. This has been vetted through, our county attorney's office, certainly as well as our labor council, to take a look at this. And what this is in reference to is not only certainly the responsibilities and the accountability from the county, but also on behalf of the handler of the animal to ensure that, you know, it's, the animal is safe, the employee is safe, and all the coworkers are safe.
And I saw that it does distinguish between service animals and
Medical.
the one we, what was the term we used
Oh,
yesterday?
therapy.
Emotional
So therapy.
Emotional support.
Yes, the Americans with Disabilities Act is very clear. They cover service animals. There is no recognition of either a therapy animal or an emotional support animal under the Americans with Disabilities Act.
So why y'all have, well,
Well, if your
Yeah.
animal is trained, so there's Pomeranians that are trained to be service animals. So,
That
this
was
one-
interesting yesterday, that.
So you're saying I can't bring my pet's junk in here?
no, we cannot.
I mean,
No,
is
New
Just
York-
wondered, I just wanted to make sure.
The
I thought,
law-
you know,
the law
There's a Lowe's employee with a ferret wandering around. there.
yeah,
Yeah, dogs and horses.
okay.
Now, is this a policy just for the service animals or medical as well?
This is
Service
only for currently if anyone is in need of an accommodation to continue working with a disability under the Americans with Disabilities Act. We have a process where they come meet with me, we meet with the department head, we have the documentation from the physician. We go through the entire process. We publish to them what their requirements are, what our requirements are. And as a result of that, we need to add the service animal accommodation. Right, it's so for someone, if they qualified with a disability that warranted for them to have a service animal, this is the policy that they would.
So we're just getting everyone keeping in line.
Right.
We had to follow this anyway, right?
Oh, yeah, this is federal law.
Okay, I need a
Move
motion. And a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Go ahead, did
No,
you?
I'm confused a little bit. The service animal itself has to go through a training regimen
Yes, we do not supply that.
and they have
That's-
to have a certificate and everything else.
we're not
Whereas-
allowed by law to get a certificate.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Whereas the other one is basically just accommodate an individual who might have PTSD, anxiety, or something like that, that isn't defined as a disability,
That's emotional.
emotional, yeah,
But we're not, this policy doesn't reflect that at all, right?
No, this is not in reference to someone who was assigned an emotional support dog or a therapy dog.
It even rules that out.
This is in reference
sight
only.
impaired or
It
something
speaks,
like that.
actually talks about the fact that this individual has, you know, it's been certified, it's completed the program, it is actually classified under the Americans with Disabilities Act as being a service animal.
Yeah, we could provide you last night, Rick, at Health and Human Services. They did bring in a very nice chart of what each one of these, criteria is allowed through, and we could get you that flow chart. It was kind of nice
Yeah,
because
that
it was saying this you could take here, this you could take there, you know. That way to get you a copy of that,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
That was good.
So
Because
this
this is just talking about.
this
the
is only service
service
animal,
animal.
a service animal under the Americans with Disabilities Act.
What else?
Oh, okay. So currently, we go through the RFP process, the request for proposal, when we deal with services through the county. Currently, our administrative services only contract, which is our health insurance, currently awarded to the Capital District Physicians Health Plan. We had a 3-year plus the opportunity of 2 additional 1-year extensions, which are set to expire the end of this year. Okay. When we first started with self-insured health insurance, as well as self-insured pharmacy benefits, okay, they were 2 different vendors. So there was no overlapping of the services. Now we have Capital District Physicians Health Plan as both our prescription provider as well as our health insurance provider. So after discussion with the Health Insurance Committee, it makes sense for us to extend our contract with current CDPHP for our self-insured health insurance to coincide in the same exact time frame as our request for proposal with our prescription services. So what we're respectfully asking is, rather than engaging in the RFP process for the beginning of 2025, we would like to extend our current contract with CDPHP for our ASO services to coincide to the end of 2027, of which then in 2027, if we're all still here, we will RFP not only for our ASO services, but we will RFP for our pharmacy benefit manager as well.
I'll move it.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Oh, carry.
Now, I'd like you all to tell Supervisor Livonia that I didn't say ASO PBM. Because when we were talking about this in the Health Insurance Committee, I was kind of, PBR me ASAP and those
Yeah.
types of
Confused
things.
them a little bit.
And he was like, what did you just say? I tried to kind of spell it out this time.
You did a good job.
Thank you.
So Rick, I just wanted to go back to the service animal thing. It specifically says emotional support, comfort, and or therapy dogs do not meet the statutory of the service animal.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
it's,
they're not
it's
classified.
it's forbidden
That,
in this rule.
Right.
For your,
that's what I was
for your
trying to.
comfort level, I know, right?
Yeah.
We'll still send it.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
Thank you so very
We'll
much.
still send you
All right,
the chart.
wonderful. Thank you. Yeah, it must
Last
have
but
been an
not
exciting
least,
conversation last night. Sorry.
Rachel?
It was a gorgeous dog too.
Is it?
And I didn't understand those distinctions until she
I
last
just
night.
printed out, yeah,
Right.
yeah.
How is
verbally she
everyone?
told us.
Hey, how's it going?
Gary's on vacation, so we sent me.
Good for him.
Glad to
He's
have you.
actually in South Carolina. His granddaughter's graduating basic training this week. Yeah. So he normally reads it. I think I just read it, right? The report?
Yeah.
Okay. Number one is registrations for VA healthcare. We're doing a lot of registrations, actually. A lot of veterans that realize that they can come in and register for the VA in our office, so.
And is that like year where you can register at any time? It's not like the other healthcare system where they have like a block.
Right, you can register anytime. It's income-based, which we both don't agree upon, because a veteran is a veteran no matter what. It shouldn't matter on their income. But it gets hand-delivered to the VA by our drivers.
Okay.
So, right to the eligibility office.
When you say you're doing a lot, are you doing more than usual? Or
I've
just-
been there for a year, so I think probably because he wrote it on here, we're probably doing more than we normally have done.
Okay.
Which is good because like older veterans aren't aware that they're even able to register for the VA or don't know how to do it. So they've either heard of our office or, somebody has told them to go in, or either way, they come in and we get them registered.
Great.
We're doing a lot more claims, submitting more claims, and a lot are coming back. We're getting not as quick as I would like, but it's a whole process, obviously, for the disability claims. That's really good when we get good news back for the veteran.
Yeah.
Outreach, we have a lot of, word of mouth, people reaching out to other people and their buddies and, oh, come here and, I met with so-and-so and, you need to get a claim in, you need to go see them or call and set up an appointment. So we had a lot of veterans from Greene County come over, which is fine. We don't turn anybody away. Then for Dwyer, for number one, the coffee and bagel meeting, we do that the second Tuesday of each month at 10 a.m. The widows and volunteers for the food pantry are in charge of that, and they set it up in the Dwyer room. We've had probably 20 veterans at a time come in and just hang out and talk and have some bagels and coffee or whatever, drink, tea, hot chocolate. The horse programs in Philmont and Greene County are going good. The high and mighty one in Philmont, and then Greene County is Breezy Lawn. We're trying to break a Mustang. They're trying to get a Mustang in there so veterans can go over and break a Mustang.
Just as long as they don't break anything
Sounds
else.
safe.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right? Yep.
Sounds like
And they actually have a horse that's there now. Exactly. They have a horse there now that's, I forget the name. Oh, I forget the name of the breed, but she's young. So she has not haltered, broke yet or anything. So they're going to actually work with her until they get a Mustang. And for our events, the annual barbecue is June 15th. Flag Day Parade is June 8th, I believe. And then Sergeant York's birthday is in April. I don't have that date yet. And then we're having overwhelming success with the food pantry, a lot of donations, clothes, food, personal hygiene items. There's actually a lot of extra stuff. Clothes don't seem to move as much, or shoes. So Gary's been taking them to Oneonta with him to a homeless shelter and warming stations. So he'll pack the back of his car before he leaves, and then it's gone by the end of the weekend. And we've had a big donation from Verizon with the big cans of applesauce, and we were like, we can't put those in the pantry. They're not going to move, you know? So he took them to a soup kitchen in Oneonta, and they were very thankful for that. And we've actually shared some of that with Salvation Army as well.
And the Hudson Rotary Club has been very, engaged.
Yes.
Sending their poster out. They're doing the collection for personal items.
Socks, I believe it is.
And razors and shampoo and toothpaste.
Yeah.
It went out, their posters out all over the county.
Yep, Gary sent me to one of their meetings. And I didn't know what I was walking into. I've only heard of the Rotary, and it was a sock drive, and they're gonna be doing that as well. So.
I had a bag for you, but I'll bring it another time. I left it. I forgot it. I had it, but.
And you have enough food? It seems to get in.
We have a
lot of food. being
a
brought.
lot of food.
Okay.
We actually have so much right now that the widows and volunteers will package up different stuff. Our thing is we don't want it to expire and then have to throw it out. So they are in contact with other local food banks like Chatham, Ghent, Appalachia. So stuff that we have an overabundance of, another one may not have any of.
Right.
So we're sharing with other food pantries, which is, I think that's a great thing. We want it to move. So. And then Gary also wanted me to tell you guys, he had been selected to participate in a research group representing the county regarding assessing needs for veterans in New York. And he'll be going to a task force meeting in Syracuse in April, and he has already gone to one in Utica in March.
Okay.
That is all I do.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Very good.
Anybody have anything else they want to bring forth, board? Need a motion to adjourn? Second? Favor?
Second, all in favor? Yes.
Aye. There we go.
You didn't have it. All right.
All right, I'd like to call the Public Works to order. Up first, we have Highway Department. Oh, maybe, I don't know. Tony's not been plowing snow, so he got his agenda in early, you know, but.
Tony doesn't do snow.
I noticed. It looks like there's duplicates here. though. You got it?
We're
Okay.
gonna have to talk about this seating right here.
You looked at better when I was over there.
I did.
I kept my mouth
You
shut.
never
and said
picked on me or
bye,
anything. All right.
Poor Tony gets picked on.
That's terrible.
Still patching shoulders and potholes and removing dead trees, diseased trees, a lot of brush. Some snow and ice control, hauling stockpile sand and salt. Still doing storm damage cleanup. That seems to be an ongoing issue year round.
Every night.
Yeah,
Yeah.
constant.
The wind.
Yeah, screening millings from last year's project, I believe, up at the airport. And finally completed the large culvert installation on County Route 11 in Clobber. That road was reopened. And I gotta tell you, I put this on the list last week, hoping that it would be open, and it did. He opened it yesterday, I think.
Thank you, we appreciate it. Boy, I was starting to get calls.
Yeah, oh, I was getting them every day.
Yeah.
Believe me, every day. And delivering and setting some generators for the 911 towers. Personnel, we got one employee out on workers' comp and one employee out on extended medical leave. No new business and only one resolution request tonight.
Move it.
Second.
And a motion and a second, all in favor? I did want to ask in general, Tony, where are we with staffing?
We're still down one mechanic and one heavy equipment mechanic, and I think 2 MEOs. We just hired another one of our seasonals, got his CDL permit, so we were able to hire him full-time as one, for one of the open MEOs. And I'll have 2 additional MEO openings once we do the promotions from the MEO2s from last month, so.
We're much better than we were a couple of years
A
ago.
lot better than we were.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, we're,
Good.
and I know every time we talk about it.
I know, I'm not trying to jinx you or anything. I just asked, but,
A couple years ago, it was scary, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think we had what, 12 or 13 open spots.
Yeah.
Coming in the winter a few years ago, yeah. So.
all the trucks are broke down. We had nobody to drive them anyway, so.
Exactly. We were just,
Yeah.
Any questions for Tony while he's there?
All right, thank you.
Thank
If
you.
not, we'll move on to facilities.
Brian,
Howdy, folks.
how are you?
Oh,
Making the old man noises already.
I
You're too
know.
young for that. you know?
Yeah, I gotta do this, so.
I just need your 40.
What's it? Yeah.
That's what I was told.
Yeah. Regular routine, maintenance going on, generator tests. Installed a TV in the conference room at 325. 560, we trying to add a little break area for MIS and, real property, a little kitchenette type thing. And, you know, so we had a core drill hole, and of course we hit electric. So that was a nice little fun 2 days. And we, you know, we didn't even know what it fed, but we got it back going. But, you know, could never find out where it went. It's just one of those mysteries, I guess.
You found the breaker for it. though.
Oh, yeah. Well, actually, we found the main. It took the whole thing out. But let's see here. Courthouse, we've been working in the Commissioner Jurors, putting a little new office in. We're waiting on a door. That's the only thing we have left to complete that one. Had to run new conduit and waiting on rewiring the generator at Austerlitz. We're working with Highway when it goes up. A little difficult getting up there. Glad I don't have to plow that road. I don't know who you have doing that, Tony, but.
All of Austerlitz is like that, so.
That's right, you know.
Yeah, that one was. 11 Warren, we hopped up on the roof and, ended up clearing all the drains. There was you know, like leaves and some debris on the roofs, so they don't get into our drains. Replaced all the air filters on the rooftop units. BOE, we're just getting ready to, deliver voting machines right now. Solid waste, Germantown, is complete, and, we're working on Copake. In Ghent, we had to, install a new pressure washer receptacle for Ghent and replace one of the heater tubes. Basically, and then MIF, we're kind of painting their area and, replacing carpet, which was budgeted by them. And then I got a couple of this is authorization to accept the maintenance agreement with Otis.
Move it.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
That one was the courthouse, and I also have another, maintenance agreement, and that's with 325.
Move it. Second. Motion and a second. All in favor?
Yeah, these are all the OGS contract also.
How often do they come to do, maintenance?
This one, monthly. So there's like a, like, they'll check maybe the belt, like the door on one, and then the found, but they check multiple things, so.
I remember these come by all the time, check that elevator a lot.
Yeah. They're pretty good, because the guy that, you know, Bay State, Otis bought Bay State, so the same guy stayed on doing it, so.
They were up at Kinderhook today when I was there.
What's that?
You're at Otis.
Yeah. Get one story structure.
Yeah, right, yeah. And nobody uses it.
You're the only that uses it, right?
I didn't use it. I just saw them, they were checking it. They were putting the key fobs in today too, so good for you. Any questions for Brian? All If not, we'll move on to engineering.
It's gonna be a quick news bag.
You just,
I wasn't gonna say anything like that, you know,
good evening. Starting off with, bridges, so Valley View Bridge, Colorusso has mobilized onto the project site. We've received our permits from, Officer Parks, and they've, done some tree clearing, and they're getting the area prepared for the new temporary bridge that has to be installed. They anticipate that will be taking place during the April timeframe. Once that temporary bridge is installed, then they'll be able to dismantle the original bridge. But again, making sure everybody understands that there'll always be access in and out of that park. It'll be a one-lane bridge. It's actually the county's Bailey Bridge that the county had purchased many years ago, so it's coming into good use.
Glad we got to use it again, yeah.
Yeah, and we're actually, if you recall, last year we purchased signals, traffic signals, and so we are utilizing those traffic signals on this project as well. And that saved us some money. Colorusso wanted to charge, I think it was $60,000 to $65,000 for the term of the project. So again, that was roughly the cost of purchasing them, and we'll have to use them in the future as well. So it was a good purchase by the county. Stall Bridge, contractor continues to work with their subcontractors on the steel as far as shop drawing preparation and fabrication. In the meantime, the engineering department's preparing the historical documentation. So that's including getting copies of the original blueprints scanned, getting those taken care of. We also need to put together a narrative regarding the type of bridge as far as this truss structure itself, which we've done, but we also want to get some input from the town historian regarding why the bridge may have been originally constructed and getting some feedback there. So we've actually reached out to both the towns of Claremont and the towns of Livingston historians to try to get some of that information. So in case I mentioned that to you, Supervisor, anything that they may be able to provide to us, including photos, that would be of assistance. Okay.
Oh, that's holding up progress.
It is not holding up progress. No, it's something that we have to do, and since we're waiting on shop drawings, this is a good time to get that started. All right. County Route 7, Gallatin. So the project consultant has submitted their final design plans to DOT. And as I mentioned last month, we have come to terms with the project, or the property owner next door, where we needed to acquire additional right of way. So that's one of the resolutions that I have. So once we receive that DOT approval, then we'll be able to go out to bid for that project. The goal is to still get that started this year, all goes well. Bridge New York 23. The Columbia County Transportation Advisory Committee had approved and submitted recommendations to New York State DOT to approve 3 bridges within the county. 2 of those bridges are located, or excuse me, 2 of those bridges are county owned. They include roadway in Austerlitz on County Route 7, as well as Buckwheat Road. And then the third is a Town of Hillsdale Road, West End Road.
Yes, thank you. We're desperate.
So, yeah, so right now, all of that information will go up to, and recommendation will go up to DOT. DOT has the final say on that.
Okay.
Generally speaking, they do accept and move forward based on the local recommendations.
Any time frame on that?
Last time I spoke to DOT, they indicated that they were hoping to get it out into the, as far as the announcement. The announcement may come out in the May to June timeframe.
Okay, all right.
I just wanted to note, with those 3 projects, it'd be a total of $4.3 million coming into the county, which is actually higher than what New York State DOT had originally anticipated as far as our county allocation as a whole. During the original programming for 2022 and 2023, they indicated that they were only going to be funding roughly $3.6 million to the county. But last year we just got over 4 million, and this year again we're a little over 4 million. So it's nice to
Don't
see
ask
that.
why, just take it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's nice to see that money coming back into the county as far as those projects. So when I hear something, I'm sure actually you'll get correspondence as well as far as supervisor, but
Right.
we'll keep on it as
We're
well.
putting up weight limit signs. It's in desperate need of,
And you did.
it's the one bridge we own. It was built in something, early thirties, something.
Yeah, and unfortunately, there's not much documentation on it that anyone has. I know that's difficult.
And there's no easy way around it. There's no good detour. And they're working on 11, which we're getting more cars and it's a big construction project. You know, but thank you.
Is the one on County 7 right up above the culvert we did previously?
It's just above the culvert that we're about to undertake.
That decrepit concrete?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yep.
Ray, what's projected for the Buckley Bridge Road?
We're still anticipating.
What are you actually doing with that? Is this resurfacing or is that what you're doing? What's the project?
Oh, I'm sorry, for buckwheat replacement.
Complete
Yeah.
replacement?
Yeah, so it would be a complete replacement, including the abutments. Now, the amount that's being funded at, let's bear with me, the amount being funded, which would be 1.8 million, is only a portion of the entire project. So we will need to utilize county monies to go ahead and pay, I think it's an additional $500,000 to $600,000 for the full replacement. There are a few things. The alignment on that bridge is horrible, as you know. In addition to that, there's currently restriction because both abutments are actually within the stream bed. So what I would like to do is right now, the bridge span is roughly 70 feet. I would like to extend that out to at least 100 feet. So that way those abutments come out of the stream bed so we don't have as much of a restriction and that flooding that's constantly taking place. But we're also looking at realignment. So it's correct. So I recognize that I'll have to get together with property owners because we will need to acquire a property on the, I'm going to call it the northerly side, the Livingston side. Correct. Yep. But that would be a full replacement, okay, including the abutments. 911 center. So conducted a joint meeting with 911 MIS facilities to review the final bid documents with the architect, going over what's known as a page flip. So literally each document was looked at. The entire set encompasses about 64 plan sheets. So we've walked through that entire process. The bids will be available on April 11th and the bid opening will take place on May 2nd. All right. So that way we'll be able to make hopefully the May committee meeting. Right. And then the June meeting for passing that resolution to hopefully move forward with that project.
You didn't set it for 4 o'clock.
I did not. No, I did not. That's why I have it on May. That's why I have it on May 2nd. I gave myself some time. That wasn't me that did that. DSS contractor continues to work on the interior air handler units. So we actually had an update today. That seems to be moving smoothly. No complaints from staff or anything of that nature. The real test will be next week as they enter into some of the more occupied spaces from staff. Right now, we are on the first floor. The units happen to be in either common areas or in bathroom areas, or not in the workspaces. Next week, they'll be in the workspace. So we'll see how that one goes. But right now, they are on schedule as far as those replacements. They have been going smoothly. In addition, they continue to work on the solar array on the roof. So right now they're at about 75%. They actually anticipate that they'll be done within the next 2 to 3 weeks as far as that work in its entirety.
As disassembling, dismounting?
They're putting a new.
They're putting a
Oh, DSS. I thought
DSS.
11. Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, the brand new.
DSS, okay. I skipped ahead to 11 Warren Street.
Yeah, no, I'm still working with the, on 11 Warren regarding that solar, still working with the solar company regarding what they want to do with that unit. They really would like us to renew the lease, and I said, we are not that interested. So I'm trying to find out what they're going to do, whether they're going to leave it in place or whether they're going to dismantle it. I'll keep the committee up to speed on that. Had a meeting with the design team this past week, on Thursday morning, which started working through the floor plan. First time really looking at that, space allocations for each one of the departments. I can tell you that the storage requirements for Board of Elections has continued to grow, even from when we first started scoping the project. If you have seen within the hallway, there are the blue cabinets, which are the printer cabinets. Those are new. Those were not really anticipated, but for each voting machine,
there's also a printer cabinet, so that's doubling up our storage requirements there. In addition to that, we're looking at providing for all of the early voting down at 11 Warren as well, and so that space has grown a little bit. So we're continuing to work through it. It's going to continue to be a challenge as we move forward to make sure we have adequate, space for each one of the departments. But stay tuned, because we'll have to continue to take a look at that and how they're fitting together as well. All right. But it is getting tight. Although we originally anticipated, as I mentioned, it worked on paper, but as we get into it, as we had gotten those wish lists back from the departments, and we continue to work with those departments to see and vetting through the wish list. Obviously, we don't want to paint ourselves in a corner. We want to provide for some additional space in the future as well. So we're continuing to work with the design team on that.
We're not gonna have to buy another building.
No, not for this purpose. No. Maybe,
Next year.
maybe for 401. Not for this purpose. County Courthouse AC, so that project is out to bid. That was a project that was designed last year and tabled. However, in light of the fact that it looks as though there's additional funding coming into play through NYSERDA, through the work that Don Meltz is doing with the Climate Smart group, that we may be able to take on this project and get it fully funded from the state under that NYSERDA program.
Were you able to reach out to Stuyvesant Mechanical for a quote on that?
I reached out to them and,
Okay.
and I gave
I
them
thought
a
of that today, but I didn't want to.
yeah, I gave them a copy of the notice to bid.
Okay, good.
So
That's all.
it's now in their hands
Yep,
whether they want to.
Yep, I don't know either,
Yep.
but,
Yeah. Those bids are due March 29th. So again, we'll be able to have that in time for the April meeting for consideration. Resolution. First resolution is authorizing the chairman to award and execute a contract for reconstructing the existing parallel taxiway lights at the airport with baseline.
And a motion and a second, all in favor?
Quite a disparity in the bids there. Huh?
Yeah.
Yeah,
very-
wasn't there?
very
I
much
was
so.
concerned
That
about
was
that.
I was, yeah, I expressed, some hesitation, if you would. However, speaking with the consultant, Baseline does quite a bit of work, specializing in this. And actually, they have a very large warehouse where they end up stockpiling
Yeah, maybe
materials
that's why, yeah.
as far as equipment. Because they're able to buy it in bulk. And that's one of the reasons that they're able to.
Yeah, I did look that over too, and I had a little concerns with that, but.
Yeah, 1.3, 1.5.
Yeah.
And I actually reached out to Baseline as well, making sure that they reviewed their bid, that they concurred with their bid, they didn't have any issues with it, and they.
Sign the contract.
And they wish to proceed, so they have indicated that they wish to proceed. So I gave them a second bite at the apple, whether they wanted to, back out or not.
Good of you.
Second resolution, I'm sorry, was that voted on?
Yeah.
Yep.
My apologies. Second resolution is for the construction observation, construction inspection.
Second. A motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
And last resolution has to do with the culvert replacement down on County Route 7 in Gallatin. And this is authorizing the chairman to enter into agreements and provide compensation for obtaining additional right-of-way, as well as a temporary construction easement in the amount of $1,900 to the property.
Second. I got a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
That's it?
That's it for me. Any questions?
I got one, just to let you know, I met with our girl on fishing, our lady on fishing.
Oh, okay.
So finally, I understand what she was complaining about, what the heck, we had survey markers out, you had two of them. And then in back of that, you had some flags, orange flags for like where the project was finishing, so it was like 2 feet onto the property. So she didn't know, I said, look, you see the stakes that are made of rebar? Those are the survey, do not touch them.
Right.
Cannot touch them.
Correct.
Everything else, throw it away. Really? I said, take those flags and throw them away. They're done with the project. This is where it is. The survey line is here. You can sit there and line it. Okay. I said, that's you're all set. That you
Okay.
don't need a letter. You don't need anything. I'm telling you where you got. The rest of it's yours on that side.
Correct.
She
Okay.
was good with that.
Oh, good, good. I'm glad that she finally.
She was messed up with all the flags.
Sure.
And that's what it was.
Okay.
So, oh, yeah, these flags are here. I said, that's fine.
Yeah. Okay, that's good. I'm glad to hear that. That was amicable.
Right.
Yeah, I knew it would be. Just, I didn't.
Good.
You're the man, Tiffany, we're
Well,
good.
Ray, I won't take up committee time, but I'd like to talk to you afterwards about soil and water structure.
Oh, sure, yes. Yep. So I do have the design. So the design is done. It's just manpower.
Yeah.
It's an issue of manpower
Okay.
or going out to bid.
Option they might want to consider. So I'll just-
Okay, yeah, I can talk to you after.
Thanks, Rick.
All right.
All right, thank you. We've saved the best for last, solid waste.
I missed all you guys.
I did her very fast.
So is everybody else.
Okay, so updates. We've received bids for the garbage bags. Waste Zero and Central Poly were the two that responded. Waste Zero was the lowest responsible bidder, and I have a resolution to follow at the end. I do have the monthly report attached. If I could somehow, Kelly, get this to go in order, I would do that for you, but sorry. So this is basically just our February numbers of all the materials coming into Greenport. Cleanup days, well, I guess. Yeah. You can see our food scrap is increasing slowly.
How about the collection of the byproduct? Is it getting taken away?
Yes, still, yes, which has been amazing. I was kind of hoping to stockpile some over the winter so that I could disperse it to all of the stations the end of this month for spring. But
People are grabbing it.
they're grabbing it
Yeah.
quicker than if we can, put it out.
Good, I also worried about it stockpiling too much.
Yeah, no,
You know, when
I
we
was
started
hoping
this,
to be
you
able
know.
to have just enough, just to, be able, we bought totes for all the stations so that all
Sure.
of the stations can have some, and we are getting an increase in all of the stations now. Copic, Hillsdale and Gallatin have all really kind of picked up their collection over the last 3 weeks or so. So they've been, which you can see in the number.
But that's all cooked product, Ron. I mean, if you
Yep.
talk about, I'm sure any farmer will use that as a soil mat. and
That's
come down
right,
here
yep.
with a dump truck.
Right.
Yeah, we don't have that much.
Pickup truck.
It's 90, I mean, it reduces the food waste down to 90%. So it's, but yeah, people are taking it. Cleanup days, we do have a couple of towns that have already signed up for that. Town of Chatham, we have you down tentative with the date, so just,
18th, May.
yeah. Stuyvesant, New Lebanon, Copic and Hillsdale have all set updates with us. If you're interested, that's something you want to reach out to our office. Just a little reminder about our Household Hazardous Waste Day. May the 4th be with you.
Yeah.
Should you like that? We might have a lightsaber that day
Yeah.
directing traffic.
Drums,
Right?
please.
But we're having trash day that day, so,
Starts having our trash day, but may the 4th be with you. That is our Household Hazardous Waste Day. It's at the Columbia County Commerce Center from 8 to 12. That's the first of our two. And our department is still working on a biennial update for the solid waste management plan. Due sometime this year, either May or October. The state hasn't really done.
Speaking of that, not to put right back on the spot, did you two ever talk about construction at 911 by fall and date?
We did.
before? Okay,
Yes,
all
we
right,
did, yeah.
all right.
Yeah, we actually met out
Thought
at
of
the
it.
site. Yeah,
Yes.
we met out at the site.
Okay.
And recognized that we will need to, modify
The plan.
the operation and the plan.
Okay, all right.
And
Just
Not,
leave your
not for
thoughts,
the
yeah.
May, obviously, but. for the-
No, and
No.
in May, I will speak
Right.
with our hauler
Consultant
and
there, yeah.
see how we can best make October work.
And your e-waste policy is still the same. Like when I did my event last year, I had a separate e-waste company come in because I thought you were limiting your e-waste can be brought to Greenport.
Call the office tomorrow. I don't know that was kind of before my time, so I'll have to look up information. I don't know off the top of my head. Did you have a lot of e-waste?
9 pallets.
Okay.
And then that was from E-Lot. I don't know if I should talk about.
Okay.
I think we were just packaging it different in Stuyvesant, so that, and then we had, one of our guys has got a small dump trailer, we were bringing that
And-
separate,
But
you know,
brought
to
it
you,
us.
brought it
Yeah.
to you,
I
right?
think that's if you're putting it in our trailer, in our dumpster, there's an issue with the,
Right.
but if you're gonna bring it to
Separately.
us separately, that should be fine.
What worked for us, Donnell, is we just separate it into a pile, we got it a roof that we can keep it under, but then
one of our guys has got a good sized dump trailer. They just load it with that and take it down,
Yeah.
you know.
Dump
To
it
the
right at
station.
your area.
Well, no,
Yeah,
you're not dumping it.
You gotta
it's
unload it. But I mean,
Flat screen TV.
unloaded. But, you know, if we know when you're coming, I'll have a couple of guys there that will, you know, obviously assist unloading it. It goes in the recycling, pole barn at the Greenport station.
Okay, because I engaged in an informal agreement with a different company,
Okay.
and just charge us $10 for flat screen or something like that. I'll definitely consider your.
So we waste, charge the call our office tomorrow.
All free.
E-waste.
Yeah,
Mm.
we call it free waste now that we're made the fourth do with you.
Yeah.
Do you love that? I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, yeah,
Okay.
give us a call. I'll
Okay.
see, if I can, I'll ask in the office what the reasoning was for that, for the town of Chatham, because I don't know. And we'll talk about that. Okay, yep. And I have one resolution request, and that's to award the bid.
Move it. Second. Got a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. You're welcome.
I have one question. Do we recycle batteries?
No. Well, what kind of batteries first?
Household batteries.
Household batteries, no. So household batteries that are not rechargeable are deemed by the state, as just household garbage.
Okay.
Really?
We do a collection at our town hall.
What about lithium tool batteries and things? Somebody else asked that the other day.
Rechargeable
Yeah.
batteries are lithium batteries we don't take in our station.
Right.
Those need to go back to the dealer. Lithium batteries cannot go in the garbage.
You can bring those to Lowe's.
They should not. They're a fire hazard, so, yeah.
And they don't go to hazard waste day either. We don't take them there either. They go back to a
They
distributor.
go back to the distributor.
Car batteries and money at your port.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Yes, but we do take, some like the lawnmower batteries, those type of
Okay,
things.
yeah. Now, somebody asked about the tool batteries and they,
Lowe's and Home Depot.
Yes.
Yeah, it's great. Big boxes in front.
We all set?
Is that
I
it?
don't know, any other questions for Wendy? Any other questions for the committee in general?
Triple R.
Oh, NASCAR, that's next month.
That's
And
next
I
month.
actually think that, it will be during the week of solid waste. I mean, I can zoom in.
What's that?
Wednesday. Next month,
You want to zoom in?
I can zoom in or just give you a paper agenda.
You're
I'll be
away.
in Buffalo.
Yeah, you
Oh,
can
that's
just
right.
send, give me the agenda or if you want to.
I mean, that's
Yeah.
right. So,
Yeah.
You don't have to, you don't have to get on, you can just send it
Go for
before.
the eclipse.
No, no, actually, they had to change the date of their, conference because of the eclipse. So no, it's a compost organics council, and they've asked our department to be one of the speakers to talk about our food scrap recycling program.
Yeah, hotels will be booked.
Yeah.
It's got real dark.
Are there any other questions or comments to be brought to the Public Works Committee? Questions from the public?
I second that motion.
Jim and Jim.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, folks. Consider